Brexit deal done. Juncker and Barnier to meet EU lawmakers tomorrow. An EU official said Jean-Claude Juncker and Michel Barnier will meet EU lawmakers early on Monday. The meeting is a further sign a Brexit deal with Britain could be ready as officials seek the EU Parliament's approval before a crunch meeting with Theresa May. Mr Juncker and Mr Barnier will meet the Prime Minister over lunch in Brussels on Monday. Diplomats say agreement on three key issues holding up talks on future trade relations is close. One major hurdle has been European Parliament concerns about the rights of EU citizens in Britain after Brexit. Mr Juncker's meeting at 10 a.m. GMT with the legislature's Brexit team, led by Guy Verhofstadt, appears to be an effort to secure approval from Parliament for a deal on citizens' rights. The Parliament must approve any Brexit treaty. Mrs May is under pressure to progress exit talks, and the meeting could determine whether EU leaders give the go-ahead for the second phase of the Brexit negotiations, including trade talks, to begin. The EU insists Mrs May must improve her offer on the terms of Britain's withdrawal if there is to be progress at the EU's December summit. These include settling Britain's divorce bill, the resolving the status of Northern Ireland's border with the Republic, and the future rights of EU nationals living in the UK and British nationals in the EU. Sir Richard, the president of the Lawyers for Britain group, which campaigned for leave in the referendum, warned her not to compromise on the issue of the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice, ECJ, in order to secure an agreement on citizens' rights. In a letter to Mrs May, seen by the Sunday Telegraph, he expressed concern that she was heading for an arrangement in which British judges would be able to refer specific cases relating to EU citizens to the ECJ for a binding interpretation. After the UK leaves the European Union, the rights of EU citizens in the UK will be governed by a bilateral treaty between the UK and the EU, he said. I know of no instance in current international relations where a sovereign state that has entered into a treaty with another sovereign entity, such as the EU, has accepted as binding the rulings of the court of the other party. If the ECJ were given the exclusive right to interpret the proposed UK/EU treaty in relation to EU citizens' rights to enter and stay in the UK, the right of the UK to control UK borders and the rights of all citizens who lived in the UK would be lost forever. That would be tantamount to reversing the result of the 2016 referendum. It comes as leading Brexiteers urge Mrs May to serve notice on EU bosses at crunch talks tomorrow that they will not get a penny unless British demands are met. They have signed a letter calling on the Prime Minister to lay down red lines when she meets Mr Juncker and Mr Barnier. The hard-hitting letter, organized by Leave Means Leave and signed by business leaders and politicians across the political divide, accuses EU negotiators of acting in a manner sadly unbecoming of an international body. It also accuses the EU of demanding vast sums of money from the UK but declining to set out what the UK will get in return.